Roth conversions. It's the number one thing that comes up with clients when I'm doing personal planning with them, whether it's ongoing or whether we're just getting started. It has to be a part of the conversation. Not saying it fits everybody, but today I want to go over some really strategic times that you might consider doing a Roth conversion, and we'll teach you a little bit about it as well while giving you detailed instructions. What? No snazzy like intro or anything? Okay, fine. Let's do it. Okay, Roth IRA conversion. We're going to talk about the strategies here. We're going to get into it a little bit. Now, conversions, look how tiny I am. Roth conversions are very simply just taking pre-tax money and putting it into a post-tax account. Most commonly is moving money from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. You're allowed to do that. And so the reason we do this is because your traditional IRA, when you take money out one day, let's say retirement, you're going to pay taxes on that, right? On your withdrawals. They also force you to do what's called RMDs. As you get older, you're forced to take money out. The government wants their money, their tax money, right? And so we pay taxes on that. So the concept behind Roth conversions is to get ahead of all of that because those same things don't apply there. All right. There are, in this case, I can't do the 4 thing. I've got 5. Really, there's 4, but I threw the estate planning in there as well because we'll get to it. So during market downturns, we call it the retirement runway. Lower income years, we'll go over an example of all of that. Before tax rate increases, the discussion, but we'll see. And then estate planning, if you want your kids and heirs to pay no tax on the money that they inherit that you don't spend. So let's go over some examples. First up, we've got Sarah. I hope this is big enough and you can see. We're going to say in this case that we're talking about converting at different points in the market's performance. This is the one time that I think most every advisor would agree that timing the market, well, it's okay. You know, we're going to go ahead and do it. So Sarah's got 2 choices: convert during the peak in the market, convert when the market falls at some point. Markets go up and down, mostly up, but they do go down. She's 65 and retired. She's got $500,000 in her traditional IRA. We're going to say her bracket. Remember, there's a difference between your bracket and your effective rate, but we'll go over that. And she's got income of $80,000 coming from various sources while she's retired. She converts $100,000 and we're going to say that her life expectancy is to 85, right? So she's 65 now. Okay, so let's go over exact examples of converting like right now, right? Like you would say like the market is basically at all-time highs. So converting now versus some decline, right? And we're going to use 30% as an example just because I want to show an extreme. That's the only reason we're doing that. I'm not saying the markets are going to fall 30%. Okay, so here's what happens. If she does, well, let me go back a slide. So if she does the conversion of $100,000, let's say now while the markets are at highs, she'd pay $24,000. Well, she would be in the 24% bracket. We're going to assume she'd pay $24,000 on that conversion. The other one would just say, hey, well, at some point, maybe it's, during the year the market falls. And in this case, we're going to say 30%. Well, the $100,000 that she had that she was going to convert is now worth 70. And the concept here is that we're saying, take those dollars, they fell in value, show the IRS that lower number for the moment. Move it over to the Roth, pay your tax on the $70,000 and let it recover in the Roth IRA because we know that 100% of the time markets recover 100% of their declines, right? So that's scenario number 2. Tax bill will be $16,000. She saves $7,200 by doing it this way. Now look, some of you are going to look at the $7,200 and go, that's it? That's all you get? I don't care if she saved $1, right? None of us want to pay the IRS $1 more than we have to. A little trickery here, and we're saving $7,200 for her doing that. Now, let's assume that the money keeps growing. We're just going to say 7% through the rest of her life, all right, in the Roth IRA, because she's going to maybe convert other dollars in her IRA later. If she converts at the peak when she turns 85, that after-tax value is $386. If she converts during a dip, right, then that after-tax value as she gets older in age, assuming it's not spent, is $414,000. That's just assuming a 7% growth rate on the 70 versus the 100, right? So kind of interesting. Example number 2 is going to be, and this happens, come on, like, it's got to happen to somebody. Let's say it's husband and wife. The example's not going to be that, but one of you may make less money one year. You got fired in June and it took you to January to find a job. You had your second child and you're like, you know what? I'm going to stay home and just enjoy this kid a little bit. First kid, I didn't care so much, but the second one, yeah, I'd like to maybe spend some time. So let's give an example of converting when your income is lower. So we got Mike here. He's 55, still of working age. He's got 400,000 in his IRA. He's making 150 a year, right? We're going to suggest that he takes a year off and still has a little bit of income coming in, and it's not maybe a full year. He's got 40 grand of reportable income. And so we say, okay, normally makes 150, now he's making 40. In a normal year, if he made 150 and converted $60,000, right? Now he's got at least ordinary income on paper of 210,000. It's going to cost him 19.2 in taxes. Okay, maybe that's still worthwhile. That's fine. But we know he's going to take a year off. So me and Mike are talking together. He's going to be, okay, next year, dude, I'm traveling. I'm going to have some fun. All right. So he's only got 40,000 of income, converts 60. Now we got 100 on the books. He's in a lower tax bracket in this case. So his tax bill is 13.2. We're saving money here. If we look at the results of that, we're saving a total of $6,000 by doing the conversion in lower tax years. Now, again, you look at that and go, it's $6,000. Okay, but what did he do? If Mike was a client of ours, he could literally go convert $60,000. That's all he had to do. He could send an email for all it matters. So it's not like, oh, I got to do all this work to save $6,000. No, it's just strategy, right? Just planning ahead to actually make this happen. What's fun is that $6,000, if we invest that in the $6,000 in savings there, 7% annually grows to $32,555 after tax dollars, right? The $60,000 conversion when he gets to age 80 is now worth $325 down at the bottom, if you can see it. So he can either take this money out and pay no tax, like when he gets older and wants to travel more or whatever dollars he doesn't spend moves on to his heirs. That gets into the estate planning side of things, moves on to his heirs tax-free. Well, what if Mike had a kid and that kid is wildly successful? Maybe they struggled in the beginning, but by the time Mike gets older, that kid is wildly successful, makes $500,000 a year. You think you want to leave that kid with money in an IRA, right? They're going to get ripped off on taxes. So kind of cool. All right. Trying not to make this too long for you because I know patience wears thin these days, but I'm guilty, by the way. So example 3. Okay. We're going to use retirement as the benchmark here. So we're going to say, okay, we're retired. Jennifer now, I don't know why I changed the name. She's 62 and she's retired, but she's also, she's 62. So she's got 800,000. She did okay saving some money there. Annual expenses are 63. We know that because she didn't do any conversions in her IRA because of her age, and actually her RMD age now would be 75. So we're going to count that as a typo, but let's pretend it's still 73 because she's only 62 here. So my fault on that one. We're going to assume she lives to be 90. Okay. If we do no conversions and she keeps the 800,000 in her IRA, here's what happens. Age 62 to 66, she's going to, before she takes Social Security here, she's going to pay taxes of about $13,000 a year. From 67 to 72, which really should be 74. She's got Social Security coming in. She's going to have to pay tax on that because she's doing IRA withdrawals of $30,000 a year. So she's going to have to pay tax on some of that Social Security. And so annual tax is about $13,200, right? It's the same thing. See the difference there, right? Okay, so from RMD age to death, Social Security, the RMDs get larger because she doesn't have any expenses that are too large. If her expenses were 120 a year, you could see how that might be a little bit different. But because her expenses are only 60, she's getting 30 from Social Security. I hope that's big enough for you. And her RMDs are growing, right? Because that account's growing. She's got to take more and more money out. We actually, in this scenario, can't fully calculate her tax rate. We'd have to go in a nest egg and figure it all out from there. But her tax rate's actually going to go up as she gets older, right? Okay, that's not good. So let's go back. Okay, so if we do conversions, so now we're going to say, all right, she's going to convert 50 a year inside of the years before she starts her RMDs. What I said earlier, we call the retirement runway. It's if someone gets to retirement and they had not converted, we have a runway of time before we get to the RMDs. That's all it is. So pre-Social Security, her IRA withdrawals 60,000, Roth conversion we mentioned 50,000 already. She's got 110 in taxable income. Her annual taxes are a lot higher than they were on that previous page, right? You go, whoa, dude. I mean, you're raising my tax bill now. But, see what I put there? But when we get to 67 and 72, or between 67 and 72, Social Security 30,000, IRA withdrawals 30,000, conversions stay at 50. We don't need this money right now. Remember, she only had 60,000 of expenses. So this is additional. We're paying 24,000 in taxes. Why would you do this? Well, because if we come into this phase of her life, her traditional IRA now with growth is down to about 250,000. So we got Social Security, very small RMDs. Remember, she needs to take RMDs now. And now her tax bill is $9,000 to $11,000. And after age 73, right? We don't, or it would be 75 in this case. She'd have no RMDs at all to take. So that money would be already converted and would get to keep growing. So all that's really saying is, let's pay some more tax up front to pay less or no tax in the future once we get everything converted. Is that important to you? Well, that's not important to everybody. So that example right there will not be important to everybody. So it's just one way to put it out there. That could be, Jen could have a kid who's wildly successful. And she says, well, I can't leave this money in an IRA to a child who makes $500,000 a year or had some success in their life. Okay. So what that looks like for her is if she does no conversions, right? The tax comparison and what she's, total pay is $485 versus $412. She's saving $73,000. All we did was shift when she pays the tax so that she pays less tax. Add to that, it's at the bottom. Add to that, she has no RMDs, right? She can almost fully control her taxable income late in life. She can spend how she wants there. And like we said a second ago, anyone that inherits the lasting dollars after she passes, let's say she doesn't make it to 90, they get it tax-free. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so you do have a few things to keep in mind, right? You think, well, I'll just convert all this money. That sounds good. You do have to pay taxes on the money in the year that you convert. So make sure if you do a conversion that you have some other liquid dollars to be able to pay the tax bill, right? So we use something called the DOE score here. We can actually see your financial life in 11 different metrics all on one screen. We built it ourselves. It's proprietary to us. But we would actually say, hey, you can't afford to convert anymore. I can see you don't have any other money anywhere. So make sure you have the money to do that because you do need to pay taxes in the year that you do the conversion. Now, if you're younger, awesome. I almost can model out for almost anybody that the younger you are and the more money you make is more likely that you should be converting now than later, even though it's going to cost you more money, right? Maybe you pay 6 to 8% more. I can almost do that for everybody. There's some where it gets weird. If you're curious, you could fast forward if you don't care, but where it gets weird is when you're in a unique situation and maybe you're entitled to some royalty that passed down from a family member or something. These oddball things. Somebody invented something and you're getting those inheritance. I'm thinking of somebody. That's what made me think of that. But it'd be a unique situation like that. Okay. Everybody always does this one. Most conversion videos, you're going to see the people are trying to sell you their advisory services or whatever, and they'll say, taxes are going higher in the future. That's actually historically not true. That's actually happened. It has happened for the ultra upper brackets there from time to time. It's not technically true. So don't let that scare you out there. But if you do believe that tax rates in the future will go higher, whether it's on a gross basis or the tax brackets, or if you think they're just going to get us some other way, then yeah, Roth conversions. There are some, I don't want to say elder, that's the wrong way to say it, but there are some retirement considerations. IRMA you see on the screen or saw on the screen, Social Security tax, right? We can't just go gangbusters if you're in retirement, taking Social Security on Medicare, right? We need to consider some of the other stuff. So don't let me gloss over that as if, well, you just convert all you want. We do need to go a little bit deeper there. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to find that this is a step-by-step or year-by-year process, just so you know. So yeah, just things you want to consider there. What else? I made one more slide. It doesn't really match the others, but whatever. If you're considering a Roth conversion, right, tax bracket is key. I would also say the timing in the year is key. If you want to wait till later in the year, you're better off, right? Because you might have, especially now, you might have a high interest savings account. Maybe it's got a bunch of money in there and you're generating the interest. And it's a little hard to figure out exactly how much you're going to have. I know it's not a big deal, like in the grand scheme of things. You could get a Christmas bonus or something that turns out to be bigger than what you thought. And you're like, oh no, I converted too much. So if you're going to convert earlier in the year, just take a little shot at it. If you're going to convert 50,000, do 10 or something. There's no rule that says you can only do a conversion once a year. Which allows you to determine the conversion amount. And then, yeah, this is what I was just saying, right? To convert later in the year, I'll give you one last little tip. If you're working with us here at Jazz, we can convert your account almost up to the very end of the year. If you're working with an advisor at more of a traditional advisory firm or so, the big boys there, it's oftentimes that you need to get that done before Christmas. And they'll even send you an email saying, if you're doing RMDs, or conversions, then it needs to be submitted by this date or we won't take it. It says the benefit of working with a smaller company. We've had numerous times where a client forgot, waited till the last second, and it's the 27th, 28th, and we just have the ability to just go, yeah, we'll just do it, whatever. So happy to help there. Hey, I hope you'll check us out at jazzwealth.com. We're financial advisors, ranked 36th in the nation, by the way, by USA Today. We're going out for business. We're looking for new clients. We want to do personalized planning with you. We do your investing and everything, as well as a whole bunch of other stuff. So if you want someone to help you actually grow your wealth, but you're not wealthy yet, that's kind of who we cater to. We don't care if you're rich and have tens of millions of dollars. I'm not going to say no to that person, I'll be honest, but no, whoever you are, we like the average people there that talk like I do and don't have that big corporate language because, as you can tell now, 15 minutes in, I don't know corporate words. All right, let me get out of here. I hope you learned something today. I hope you'll hit the subscribe button or anything just to help us out, keep us going here. We like that, and we'll see you next time. Adios.